Hey everybody, welcome back to Ready Steady Play, where we're going to run down our final thoughts on Century, Eastern Wonders, and From Sand to Sea. We'll talk a bit about the differences and the mechanics and that kind of stuff, and what we thought and which one we preferred.
Yeah.
Obviously, the layout's quite different. I did find it quite interesting in Sand to Sea. You've got these empty spaces because, I mean, it's random where they come out, but it is quite cool that there's spaces where there is literally nothing to do, and you either have to work around those or see what you can do to work through them. And I like that mechanic where not everything is useful, because the original version that we were playing,
they all have trade spots on them.
Literally, there's very few bad places to go. This one can control the board a lot more, which I like the randomness of that.
I think you also have to be a lot more clever with your movement.
Yeah.
Because movement is very...
Yeah.
You've got to be a lot more strategic in how you plan your movement in this version than you had the other one. I think it's a lot more thinky about how to best utilise how to get the spices that you need.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a better game for me personally.
The movement in this one's a lot more flexible. In the other game, because you have to drop cargo to move, and the only way to stop doing that is to get the free movement upgrade.
Yeah.
It's actually the other one sort of incentivizes you to just kind of poot an optimal path around the board. It's certainly at the beginning when there's no outposts out, just dropping outposts. Mm-hmm. But that's and so perhaps obviously I think one of the other reasons that they put in these sea tiles is to limit the number of trade options you've got. Yeah. And so you're looking to these cards for trade options as well.
Yeah, I think we all felt the absence of some of them because I think it was very difficult in this particular configuration to get the greens out. So your strategy has to change around that. And I like that the gameplay mechanic by nature means you can't just do the same thing to win every time. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of games I've played where once you get a good idea of how the game comes out, once you get a good idea of what combinations work well, you're basically just playing that and winning a lot. This has enough randomization in it that it quite quickly throws a chink in your plan.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool.
There's quite a lot of randomization in this.
Yes.
And I have mixed feelings about that. But I do prefer this version to the Eastern Wonders version.
I agree.
The addition of the cards, I think, opens up a lot more breadth of strategies. I've seen this game won both by playing lots and lots of trade posts and by staying sort of in the same little area and focusing more on building up a hand of cards that can offer efficient trades in and out.
Well... And you saw that in the playthrough, to be fair, because Ollie obviously tried to get them all out, and I was a turn away from getting that, and our scores were very similar.
Yeah,
even though I've got very few out. So yes, you can see how both strategies can potentially win.
It's interesting actually because for most of the game, I thought you were far and away winning, and it's a little thing, but having these flipped over so they're not instantly visible, you think you remember what your opponent's got. But you have to temper that against how much attention was I paying when they took that tile off? Because a couple of them look similar enough that you'll mistake them. And you think, who's got the 20, who's got the 18? Which is good because it means that you can't just look at the state of the board and go, well, you've won. As much as you can in some other games, which I like. I like that bit of randomness.
Well, you certainly get an impression from this state of this situation here and whether or not the people are holding these upgrades here.
Yeah.
And that can give you an indication, but, it's certainly not a foregone conclusion. And actually, in Eastern Wonders, I've found the player who grabs the fourth tile, if the other players are too far behind and are unable to get a fourth tile before game end, typically that person with the fourth tile is the winner. So it's quite nice From Sand to Sea that you don't see the player with the four tiles winning every time.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you were last on points, weren't you?
I was, but my that was frankly due to my appalling strategy and complete lack of direction in this game.
But then part of it is being able to adapt. Like
get off that fence.
No, but with Michael, him being a turn in front of me for quite a lot of the game was like, I can't keep doing what I'm doing because he's already thought of it and he's getting there faster. So it's funny that it occurred to both of us, but you were clearly more equipped to handle it earlier on.
It's just luck, really. thinking of it first, maybe.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you had to think of it, and you had to then work out how to get there.
Yeah, did you smell that burn? That's me.
No.
Well, what really what I find really interesting as well is that the way these cards work, it might have actually behooved me to purchase more of the cards and put out some more tokens, because one of the things that really stalled my strategy was the lack of you guys buying into these cards up here. And so I like the idea that actually I can purchase these cards at the end to try and incentivize you guys to buy these other cards. It's not a strategy that paid off in this particular game, but I like that that's an option.
Yeah,
I like the cards. I played the original
Spice Road,
which
is basically this but without the map.
Yes.
So essentially completely different to this.
And I think
the card play is very similar.
I prefer that to the first game that we played, the
Eastern Wonders.
So
you'd prefer Spice Road to Eastern Wonders?
I think so.
I mean, I'm interested in you saying that because I haven't played the card only version.
Yeah.
So playing Eastern Wonder, it did feel kind of fun to be able to be pirate on the sea. I know we're not pirates, but come on, we kept doing it.
We're European traders.
So imperialistic Europeans coming over telling everyone what to do. So much has changed.
Yeah.
But it was quite fun because the thing with deck building games is it's, for me, sometimes you go, I don't know what's coming out. Yeah. So because I don't know the deck, I feel at a disadvantage to someone who's more experienced. Whereas on the board, I see what's on the board. I can play to what's on the board. And as a beginner going into it, it felt a lot more comfortable and a lot more forgiving.
And I know you've not played the original version, Ollie, but I feel like the original version would give you that similar playthrough. I think it might even make it more interesting. It might make it more infuriating actually, because the more players that you've got, the more like, damn it, I want that card.
I'm not a huge fan of marketplace mechanics in deck builders, which is where when you purchase a card, a new card comes out to replace it. I much prefer a setup like Dominion, where there's an established marketplace that everyone can purchase from at any time.
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot less random, I suppose, isn't it? You can build your strategy with what you know is going to be there, rather than trying to adapt it to because a really good thing might come out and you have to like flip on your.
And that's one of the things I really like about From Sand to Sea is that if you want to sort of mitigate the randomness, you can just focus on the trade spots on the board and not worry too much about the cards. And, that allows different players to pick a strategy that sort of that sort of gels with their play style.
No, definitely. And I think it's funny because we picked one of the alternative board deployments. Well, I say Mike picked.
Well, I just picked it out of the rulebook.
No, but it's funny that the rulebook itself comes with 3 different variations on how to put it, and I have a feeling that each one of them offers quite a bit of a difference because different sections of the board
potentially. But I think the fact that the whole board is random to begin with, you could play this exact same shape and have a totally different game every time you play it.
Yeah, but I mean that to its credit. There's a lot of games where this is the way you deploy, this is how everything goes. So it's nice that
this was very significant.
Yeah.
And that's totally random. And you might find you have something completely different in another game that's not present at all, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm curious what would happen if all of the empty, vast wastes of water were in the middle of the board, because then it would be crossing over would be quite a difficult thing.
Or it'd be a meaningful thing, sure.
Yeah, I wonder if that would make as big a difference as I imagine, or if people would just skirt around it and trade on the way. But I did like this quite a lot, and I mean it's funny that you get less upgrades in Sand and Sea than you do in Spice Road.
I do like the upgrades.
Yeah,
but the harvest upgrade doesn't really work in this because there's no harvest action.
Despite what we kept saying. Sorry, I blame myself.
The other one, I'm not sure why they took that out, but it must have been for some kind of balancing reason.
Probably because if you get,
or it's possibly because there's just fewer upgrades available on your player board here.
Oh, I was thinking more along the lines of there's obviously competition because you need to be careful with what you're going, but these are the ones in this version of the game that are going to be more useful for you. Free movement, without a doubt, love it. These ones clearly just getting points, and I think in this version of it, the hull expansion is more likely to come up. I mean, I know we didn't use it and so far haven't, but with fewer choices, it's more likely that you'll go, if only I had a little bit more room. So, yeah.
But the real question is, do you think you would buy it?
Yes.
Yes.
It's £60.
Each or combined?
For both games.
For Sand and Sea, together, it's £60 to £70.
That's not bad. For a game that you can...
I mean, you do get Eastern Wonders and Spice Road as well.
You've got 3 games in it. That's the thing. I mean,
but would you, if you had both, would you ever play Eastern Wonders?
I would.
Without the cards?
Would you guys play with me?
No, I mean, you would.
Then no, I would not.
Well, no, what I mean is, would you play Eastern Wonders if you could be playing Sand to Sea?
No.
I would probably play all 3 of them, but I would change it depending on who I was playing with, because...
See,
I don't think
I would never play Eastern Wonders. I would always just play this version.
Because you've got them both combined then.
Yeah.
Okay, I see your point on
that. But it's not even that they're both combined. I just prefer this version. I think it offers everything Eastern Wonders offers, with more options for strategizing, more options for coming up with different avenues, options to change up your strategy on the fly as well.
But that's what I mean. I'd use that as the intro game to this. So anytime a new player came through, I'd get them to play Eastern Wonder first. And the thing is that even then you go, well, 60 quid is £30 for 2 games. And that's still pretty reasonable.
But it seems £30 seems very expensive for a deck of cards to me.
Have you ever played Magic? Or Pokemon? Or any of those other games where I've spent far too much money on essentially...
but there's a whole sort of hobby, lifestyle, competitive element to those games.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas this is... and then the question is, would you get the New World as well? And I think that has been quite polarizing in the board game community, because there is a big division on whether or not it's worth buying both to unlock this mode. Because I actually am not the biggest fan of Eastern Wonders. I think that it's okay, but it's too slow for whatever reason. As we've demonstrated here today, these cards speed up the game enormously, and that's great because I think it offers a real depth of strategy. It's not overly complicated because what most of the cards do is exactly what these tiles do, and the 2 cards are the 2 card types that aren't trade cards or trade actions here. You start within your hand. So you explain the 2 cards that people start with, then you explain what a trade action is, and then people understand pretty much everything they can do.
I mean, I'd be curious as to what the 3rd game looks like, and if it creates itself, and then a game with Eastern Wonder, and then a game with Spice Road, and then a game with all 3 together.
Because you're saying, does it add 2 more game types, like a sort of a full version, and then by itself, or does it create like 4 new game types or 5 new game types?
You could combine Eastern Wonder with it, or you could combine Spice Road with it, or you could combine all 3 with it, or you could play it on its own.
Well, we don't know that.
No, but that's what I'm curious about, because that would really add to the value of the other 2 existing games.
Yeah, but I think that what I'm saying here is that From Sand to Sea has killed my desire to play Eastern Wonders entirely. So this hasn't. I mean, if I just had Eastern Wonders, then it wouldn't be a decision. But if I've got both, then I've only really got 2 games in my mind.
But then again, you still go, well, I've got 2 games, but if you enjoy playing both of them, then it was worth the purchase.
Oh yeah, and for me, I actually like this so much, it definitely was worth the purchase. I do think that I have a few criticisms, and I think one of my criticisms is the victory point tiles. I'm not a huge fan of how unpredictable they are. I would like to see maybe like some flipped up, so you could sort of see what was coming out and maybe plan ahead if someone was going to get you. I don't think it's as big a deal in From Sand to Sea, and I think that's partly because Sand to Sea is faster.
Yeah.
So the game's over quicker, so you have less time to sort of dwell on it.
You also got more time. It's easier to recover if something...
You've got more options to sort of recover and try something else.
Yeah.
In Eastern Wonders, I think it's a big problem because it's a very slow game and your actions are very, very considered. And you might spend a very long time planning something and then someone just grabs something from you. Or, alternatively, you buy a card, a victory point tile, and then a perfect one is flipped over for your opponent. Like, maybe they've got like sort of a little engine going with their trade posts, and it just so happens that the cubes they're getting fit perfectly for this tile, and there's nothing you could do about that, and that's very frustrating. I think the other thing I would definitely check if you are sort of a more experienced player is the starting order of these cards, because the cards that allow you to take cubes straight up are really, really strong, and if you don't get a few of them coming out at the start, that can really influence the balance of the game, I think. So the fact that we only had 2 in this game at all really, I think, influenced that balance.
Who had the second one?
I did. I eventually got...
Is that why you bought the thing?
Yeah, that's why I bought...
I wasn't even paying attention.
Eventually I got this one here.
Yeah.
But there are not a lot more of them, but there are a number more of them. And they can be very strong. So I would say, check the marketplace before you start the game. And consider maybe mulliganing it depending on what's come out. But that's a small thing that you can fix at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and in all honesty, if it's the sign of a shuffled game that something like that can happen, and you then decide is it going to be more fun to try again? So to
redeal. It's so controllable that it's not really a problem.
Yeah.
And I would also point out that my catastrophic loss here, having had all the tiles and still coming in last, was entirely due to the fact that I decided this was a good place to start, which, by the way, is the furthest from all of the trading posts on the board. Why did I do that?
I think he had a...
So don't take my loss here as an indication that the cards are broken or overpowered. This was a very poor strategic decision. And then I kind of only made it worse. Plus, then right in the middle, you guys bought like 2 cards, which were the only 2 I wanted. There's that one and the one you bought with 2 green things on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just saying.
I don't know where my other card went. You nabbed it.
Yeah, these 2. You guys bought both of these, which I really needed. So that was upsetting. But anyway,
Michael.
Successfully sabotaged. The host of the show. Get out! You're fired.
I was just like,
solo playthroughs only from now on.
I was like, ooh, green. I can use that.
To be honest, I just went, ooh, I get 3 for 2.
God damn you 2. God damn it.
There was more to it than that.
It's like, oh, I like green. I'll have that one.
It's like, oh, I'll get more red and brown. I need those.
But again, overall, our playthrough can't have lasted much more than half an hour.
Yeah.
And I think for what you get for a half-hour package, this really offers up a great deal.
Yeah. And it's also
and it's quick to explain. People
that was going to be
really
one
quickly.
of my
table
thoughts.
friendly.
Yes, and it's very easy to... Because I often judge a game because I don't have that many people to play games with. And if people say to me, oh, do you fancy playing a game? Present company excluded. If I want to try and get people that don't normally play games with me to play, this would be a really good one to do because it's very simple to explain and simple to play through. And I feel like people would enjoy the mechanics of it, trading in little spices
and when you play it for the first time, you kind of see all the layers of strategy. It's the kind of game where when you're done, people are like, oh, I lost, or oh, where'd you get all those points, or let's play again.
Yeah.
And you can always tell it's good because people want to play it again.
Yeah. I mean,
it's thinky without being overthinky. You could totally overthink it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But
you spend 20 minutes trying to go, do I want to go here or here or here?
But I feel that because you can play it without being too thinky and not be flippant, but be a little bit more casual than being deep strategic, and it won't penalise you for it too much.
Yeah, not too much.
And so if you've got a few people doing that, particularly while they're learning it, it's not going to put them off playing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, once they sort of see how these things play out, they'll be excited to try new and different options. Like, oh, I can just sit in a corner and just buy cards and see how that works out for me.
Yeah. So, I like it.
Also, again, great replayability because you've got different board states. It's randomized the tiles the way they come out. We've only used 4 out of 6 tiles for each trade post type on this map. So you might have a different series of trade posts on your map again, and you can make different. And again, this big deck of cards. And you saw how many came out in this game. You might even have more, but you'll never get through all of these in a single game. And that's very cool. And it goes up to 4.
Yes.
Which is a good number.
And we want to talk about the contention issue where Spicer had 5, and this only has 4.
All right.
We weren't supposed to talk about it.
Yeah, we won't mention that. So I think that's sort of some. Why didn't you guys take those cards at the time?
Because they were garbage for what I wanted to do.
They're a bit dumb.
Yeah, I know. I really needed you to take them.
What was the next one?
I already had that.
Okay, so you wouldn't have.
Oh no, I think that's actually my card that I put on.
Oh yeah,
top.
because that's my card.
So we'll never know, Ollie.
Oh, for God's sake!
It's a mystery secret. God, look at that! Why didn't this one come out? I would have had so much.
Because you just put them all together from the middle of the deck.
From like the
You
middle
just
of the
drew them
deck.
out.
Yeah, I
Remember
know. I
when you
said,
put
why
them-
didn't that come out?
Oh,
though?
why?
I
Yeah.
needed that.
Because you shuffled badly.
Because I wanted it.
God damn it. Well, that's it.
Yep.
Well,
So
I would definitely play this again.
yeah,
Me too.
yeah, we'll go down the pub. We'll get some pints.
Mm-hmm.
So Century, and we won't have to wait a century to revisit this. We'll check it out next year. I think when New World comes out, we'll show you guys the game in its final form, and we'll see what that looks like. And I'll be interested to see whether that adds a whole bunch of new variants or just one sort of solo game, one game, the New World, and then the Uber version as well. But what I'm hoping for is like another map, the other place, and you can go over to the New World and stuff happens.
I love the idea that it'll be like, oh, and this is the Far East, and then there's a small gap, and then this is America.
Yeah.
Here's South America, here's North America, and you just got to cross an abyss in between.
You gotta just, it becomes a dexterity game. You gotta flick your boat onto the other
Sabutio.
island. Did it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh!
Well, I made it to, now, that's the fourth game, Century Moon.
I'll be finding that in a moment.
We'll be back tomorrow for something.
Damn it, Michael, you were supposed to catch that.
Michael doesn't do dexterity.
See, I shifted blame onto him.
5 minutes later, you're like,
I was like, I got it.
now I'm with you. So we'll be back for another adventure very shortly, and thank you for coming on this one with us, and we'll see you all soon.
See ya.
See you guys.
Way.
I will find that piece.